Hello everyone. Hope all of you are safe and sound amidst the crisis going on. But life has to move on. So that is why today we are gathered here to learn how to have a successful career in your life and how to have a fast start for your career. I have to say that indeed it gives me a lot of pleasure to be here inside this building after 10 years since I put my first step inside these grounds. It was just after my A levels, and I came to NIBM because I wanted to learn something more that will help me to have a successful career. So I came here, I enrolled for a diploma program at the School of Computing and Engineering, and after 10 years since that step that I took, today I'm here to share the knowledge and the life lessons that I have gathered through my career. And I'm now distributing it to the next generation of students, the next generation of leaders, hoping that you will be able to achieve even more greater success in your lives. Now, starting things off, I have to say there is a belief that money can't buy happiness. But financial stability, I guarantee you, is essential for you to have a life filled with happiness. Now, some people are lucky enough to be born rich, while some make their own luck by developing this financial stability through their own hard work. Now, I am a person who falls into the second category that I mentioned. Because when I started my life, in my family, we didn't have a lot of financial stability. Unfortunately or fortunately, we had to make do with a little bit of a struggle. However, even as a kid at a younger age, I understood that my parents are not able to give me everything that I desire. They are not able to give me everything that those other rich kids would play around with, the fancy toys, the fancy clothes, and the fancy utilities they would bring to school, like those pencil boxes. I knew my parents are not able to get me those, and I understood it and I respected them for whatever they gave. But my mother saw something in me. She believed that someday I would be able to make something good from myself. I would be able to become a person who is a valuable member for this society. So she always told me that, son, I know you have a lot of potential, and the best way for you to become a success in your life is for you to invest your time and effort into educating yourself. So she always pushed me to improve myself in education. And she guaranteed me that someday all of it will bear the fruits of labor and for me to put my heart and soul into my studies. I did start to do that. But initially, since I was not one of those brilliant kids at the start, I wasn't able to do that. At O levels, I got some success. For some subjects, I got A's. For some subjects, I didn't. But my mother told me that I can do better. So she pushed me to work harder and harder. And you know what? I thought it's just 2 years. Why don't I make a sacrifice? I started studying early in the morning and late in the night. Most of the days I slept only about 4 hours. I would study until 11 in the night and then again wake up 3 in the morning. And all of those efforts bore fruit when I was able to get 4 A's for my A levels and I got qualified for university. And I was able to make my mother proud. And I'm pretty sure all of you would have experienced this thrill of making your parents proud. It could be various things. It could be education, it could be sports, it could be a certain achievement, or even it could be an act of kindness, an act of selflessness. When you make your parents proud, there's nothing more happier than that. But at the same time, when you make your parents proud, you're setting up a good foundation for your life. And all of you are on the path of educating yourselves, arming yourselves with those qualifications that you require to be successful. Now, I had done my A levels well. Now, I was waiting until an opportunity for me to be selected to one of the universities. Now, I could do two things with this time. One, I could have wasted this time watching movies, playing with friends, and just enjoying myself. I had worked hard. Why don't I have a break? The second option, I could invest this time to learn something more that would help me perform better. So I decided to get myself enrolled at NIBM. Now, why did I choose NIBM? For one, as I told you, back then I didn't have a lot of financial backing and I didn't want to bother my parents and burden them. NIBM offered some of the best qualifications at a very reasonable price, and I am very happy and I'm very thankful that they offer that to the students, especially for those like me who have been struggling to get the opportunity to get a valuable qualification that will support them to get into a good job. At that time, I had already started conducting tuition classes to earn some money, and that was more than enough for me to get into this diploma. So I wanted to learn a bit more about information technology, because even when we were doing A levels, everybody was telling IT is the next thing, and you have to learn IT, and there were graduate programs with business IT, and there were so many different programs now combining the business knowledge and IT. Now, I had done my A levels in commerce stream, but I didn't have a lot of knowledge on IT. So I thought this would definitely complement my qualification. So I came here and I started learning. We had some of the best lecturers teaching in a very simple way that we could understand, because I was not a tech savvy student. So I learned what Microsoft Office packages, and then they even taught some complicated things like programming languages, and how to use different types of logic to write programs. Then how do websites operate, HTML, and how those applications, and then what is the future, what are the applications of data analytics, big data. Now those words at that time 10 years ago, they sounded like too good to be true, and it sounded like way beyond what the world would be in the next decade. But now when you look back at it, the world has gone even above and beyond that. But back then, at least getting a fundamental foundation knowledge on that definitely gave me an opportunity to broaden my perspective, broaden my mind to learn these new things. So that was a good investment. Then I got into university, and at the same time, in the second year of university, I was given the opportunity to select in management what stream do I want to move ahead in. So there were different streams, and it was a big important decision, because once you make this decision, most likely your career is going to be inside this corridor. That's what I thought back then. Now, while I was doing my university studies, I got enrolled to do Chartered Institute of Management Accountants exams, or CIMA exams. Now, this was very popular back then, it is even popular now. And it was believed to be a good qualification, a professional qualification that would help you to become successful in your careers. So I thought, now there are a lot of people with qualifications. A degree alone, I thought, may not be enough. Now, I did have an IT qualification, but I thought a professional qualification would definitely support me. So what I did was, for the first time in my life, I went to my parents and I asked them, it is a big investment. I'll apply for a scholarship also. Can I please do this? And they never said no, because I had already proven to them that I believe in their support and guidance, and I'm willing to work hard. So even with the greatest difficulty, they invested this money, and I did get a scholarship. I did get some support, and I started doing my CIMA studies. So parallelly in university, I had already finished my IT qualification from NIBM and I was doing CIM. I know most of you would be doing multiple qualifications at the same time. Whether we like it or not, that is where the world is heading now. A single qualification is no longer enough for you to have that competitive edge. Now, when you apply for a job, you wouldn't imagine the number of people applying with so many qualifications. And the first hurdle you have is not actually facing the interview. From those thousands of CVs that get clogged at the HR desk of that particular company that you dream of getting enrolled at, how would your CV get through those thousands of CVs? So you need to make sure that you have multiple qualifications in, so you fill out that minimum entry criteria. So I did CIMA as well. And again, I wanted to put my heart and soul into it. And I did put a lot of hours in, and I was finally able to make my mom and dad proud again by becoming number 1 in Sri Lanka and number 6 in the world at the TOPSEMA final case study examination. And that opened a lot of doors for me. Now, I didn't become this smart person who could achieve a global rank in one day. I have to tell you, as I told you, I started off at a struggle. Sometimes even my teachers didn't believe in me, but I put the heart and soul, I put the effort in. I even went to 2 classes at the CIMA final examination. I again got some support. I got a scholarship. I went to 2 classes and I did double the work. I even got the papers from people who went to other lecturers and I did the work. Also, through hard work only, I was able to secure this position. And as a result, I got the opportunity to work with these CIMA institutes as a supporting lecturer even while I was into university. And I was able to earn some decent money and support my family for the investment they made for me to do CIMA. So I was earning a little bit of money, and as my efficiency grew, I was earning a good amount of money. Now I was still in university. Now in the final year of my university, I was offered a good job opportunity by one of the virtual business schools for CIMA. I got a good package. They offered me the title of head of education, and I thought that was the best thing that could happen to me. I took the job, and I was 2 months into my job. And in University of Colombo, that is my university, the university from which I got my degree. In the final 6 months, you're supposed to do an internship or a job for you to get the industrial experience. Now I had the option to either continue my career as the head of education for this startup virtual business school for CIMA, or I had to get into one of those conventional organizations as an intern, as an entry level recruit, and I had to learn the basics. Now I had to really think hard. Should I let go of my current job, which is paying really well, and should I get into another job with a very low pay? Because at in Sri Lanka especially, interns sometimes they don't get any pay or they get a very low salary, a very low. I would say it's kind of like an ex gratia payment that they make for the training that they give to you. So you had to settle down for a low pay but a good experience, so you can continue with the current job you have. So that was my decision. And I thought really hard. What is my dream? Who do I want to be in 15 years? Who do I want to be in 20 years? And what do I want to be for the kids that I might have in so many years in the future? I thought really hard. And I thought about this dream that I have been having of one day becoming a CEO. And I thought, if I am to be a CEO, can I be that with the current job I have, or do I have to start again from scratch? And I thought really hard. I even spoke to some of the mentors I had back then, because sometimes you can't figure out everything on your own. And it's really good if you can look to people who have walked the path, who can show you the path, and you can consult them. I reached out to some of those people who were there in my life, and I was fortunate enough to get the advice, and I was fortunate enough to make the call that I'm going to let go of the current job I have, and I'm going to start again from an internship. And I was able to get a job at LB Finance PLC. That was my first proper job as an intern at a much lesser pay. And how I was able to secure this job was, they asked me who I wanted to be. That was the main question they asked, and I boldly told them that I want to be one of the youngest CEOs on this country. Now, I didn't have a job. I didn't have all the qualifications in the world. I had zero work experience working for a finance company, but I boldly told them my dream. And I realized that sometimes they like people who dream. They like people who work hard to achieve their dreams. So I want you to think about, who do you want to be? Who do you dream to be? You have to think about that. And based on your dream, you have to plan what are the steps or what are the sacrifices you have to make in your life. And you need to make those key decisions with the dream and the goal in mind, because sometimes certain crossroads come only once in your life. Once you select a path, you will have to get committed to that path. You can't switch your dream again and again, because then you would run out of number of years that you can invest in pursuing a dream. So sometimes you have to make critical decisions at a young age, and that is why you have all the help, and that is why NIBM is doing this program for you to get advice from people who have walked down this path. And those programs are very much valuable for you to make those decisions. So I took the decision to join LB Finance as an intern. Now I joined with a lot of confidence, thinking that I am a SEMA prize winner. I was almost about to get a first class degree from my university. I had a good IT qualification from NIBM, so I should be able to perform exceptionally well at my job. Now, when I got into the job as an intern, the first thing they did me on the first day, they gave me an annual report, the most recent annual report. And they asked me to go through it from the first page to the last page. So it was a bulky, big book with about 500 pages. So I took the book, kept it, and I started reading from top to bottom. And the more I read, I understood that there's a lot more that goes in an organization that you don't understand simply from having theoretical knowledge. And I found a lot of questions that I wish to find answers through that exercise. I did it for 2 days. It was not a lot interesting. It was actually boring, but I knew this boring work has to be done for me to at least know what I don't know. Because if you don't know what you don't know, then you will not know where you can improve your knowledge base on. So what I did was, I found a lot of questions, and I went back to my supervisor and I told, there are a lot of things that are different from what I have learned, but I'm willing to spend time learning those. So the first thing that he asked me to do was to not even touch my laptop. He first wanted me to visit all the financial institutions, the competitors, and simply go and ask a loan from them. Because the main business of a financial institution is to give loans. So he wanted me to go out there, do a little bit of mystery shopping, and ask around for a loan and see how that works. And gather knowledge on the different experiences you would get from different financial institutions. So I did that. and I got a first-hand experience as a customer. And that was a great exercise for me to understand the business perspective, because sometimes what a customer faces is vastly different from what you would learn from a book, and that experience is very much valuable. And with that experience only, I slowly got into the real work. And when I got into the real work, again, I understood that when we do exams, we do a lot of writing, correct? We write down a lot of things on piles and piles of books. We carry a lot of printouts with us. We have a lot of tubes, but when you get into the job, especially in the current scenario, you don't do writing. Everything you do is on a computer. And the first thing that you will get used to is typing at a reasonable speed. Because if you don't have that typing experience, you might be one of the fastest writers out there. You might be able to finish exams that take 3 hours in just 2 hours, and you might be able to get an A at the moment. But if you don't have a reasonable typing speed when you get into the first job, trust me, you will struggle. So, right now, before getting to a job, if you can develop a reasonable level of skill in typing, that will really help your case. So, that's number one. And number two, I realized is that in Excel, especially if you are an analyst like me, you do a lot of stuff in Excel. And some of the stuff you used to do in calculator, calculators are no longer relevant. You do everything in Excel. And everything that you do in Excel, sometimes the final output has to be communicated through either Microsoft Word documents or either through PowerPoint presentations. So learning the Office package is crucial. And I'm very much thankful that I made the call to come to an IBM and do this diploma in information technology. And I learned the basics of Microsoft Office because I was able to cope up with the requirements, and I was able to build on top of the foundation that had already been laid. And I was able to do my internship up to the satisfaction of my supervisor. So when you go as an intern, in summary, most of the stuff, the theory that you had already learned, it flies out of the window because the application is vastly different. And number two, you have to learn how to get everything done through a computer. People don't use documents now. They are removing all the paper wastage, and all the documents and everything is now on the cloud. Everything is processed through servers, and you have to get used to this environment. So, if you are already a part of the School of Computing and Engineering, fantastic. Otherwise, I encourage you to get into a program, and I encourage you to equip yourself with these skills that are necessary. So, as an intern, I spent 6 months. I learnt the basics. It was all about learning the basics. And afterwards, I completed my degree with a good industrial experience. I got a first class degree. And with these qualifications, the company decided to absorb me into the permanent cadre as an executive into the strategy and risk department. So that was the first proper permanent job that I got, and I consider this as a great opportunity that I received. Now, in this job, a lot more challenges came my way because now you are no longer an intern, you are an executive, and they expect more from you. Now, what do I mean by more from you? They expect you to understand the basics of the company. So they will no longer try to teach you how the company works. You should know that. And number two, they want you to little by little discover new things. Now, when you start off your job, most of the time what you're doing is replicating an already set process. So there would be certain ways that work is being done, and you will be simply asked to follow and get on with the job. But when you get into a promotion, when you get into the second phase of your job, they will ask more from you, and they will ask you to be a little bit more innovative and create things. Because the current way the world is going, they don't want people who just follow the same processes. They expect more from you. They expect innovation from you. They expect out of the box thinking from you. So now I had to change myself from a person who is good at following instructions to a person who could go beyond instructions and create new things. And that takes a lot of effort. And one more thing that I was not used to was to actually reading news, was to have the knowledge on what is going around. And I realized that the knowledge base is vastly changing, and the world is also rapidly changing, and a lot of the things that are happening around has now an impact on business organizations. So I made it a habit to every day spend the first 30 minutes of my job at my workstation reading the newspaper articles. Now, I am not a person who is used to taking a physical paper, open it up through my desk and reading it. I'm not used to that. But now everything is online. You have Daily Mirror online, you have Daily FT online, you have business online. So many different newspapers have gone online. So it's simply a matter of logging in through your uh, laptop or logging in through your mobile phone and then reading and getting yourself the knowledge of what is going on. Because nowadays, businesses want you to be forward looking. Businesses want you to have the capability to understand what is happening in your environment and change the way you work. Because when you look outside, you would notice that your competitors are doing some different things. In abroad, people are doing novel things. A new technology that just came out will change the way that you have been doing a process for so many years. So you have to be aware of what things are happening around. So reading the newspaper, reading articles, referring BBC, looking at what's happening in Bloomberg, whatever the job that you do. If you are into IT, look at the new technologies that are being developed. That is essential for you to have the knowledge base. So whenever they give you a task, you are very much capable of linking what is happening outside with what are the strengths of the organization and doing your best. So that is crucial. Hope you understand that. Now, as I was performing my job as an executive, there are opportunities that come up in the organization. In any organization you work, there are opportunities. And sometimes your organization will look for people who can take up this opportunity and they will look around for people. Now, same thing happened to me. Now, LB Finance PLC was an organization that was doing very well in Sri Lanka, but they haven't expanded either to a different industry or either to a different market. So they were looking at an opportunity to try out an investment overseas. And now in the organization, there was no particular unit established for organizational expansion, business expansion. So they were looking for a person who can start this off as a pilot project and who can do the work and see whether this is something that can explode. Now, this opportunity as a whole came to my supervisor. Back then, he was the chief risk officer. However, there was a restriction in his role where, as the chief risk officer, he is not able to engage in a business venture because it is a conflict of interest. Now, if you are a person into business management, you would better understand, but just know that in the role as a chief risk officer, you cannot go and implement a business initiative because you're supposed to evaluate the risk of business initiatives as an independent party. So they wanted someone to lead this project under the supervision of the chief risk officer. So he looked for a person, he spoke to me and he asked whether I wanted to take up this opportunity. Now, I was very young back then. I would have about 1.5 years of experience maximum, and now getting involved with a foreign expansion project, something that the business had never done, something new, is a big challenge. But I thought opportunities don't come twice. I would take up this opportunity. I know I have the backing. I know I have the backing of my supervisor. I know I have the guidance from the directors. I thought I'll definitely take up this opportunity. I said yes. And I thought, with my current level of experience, as I had to do it alone, I knew I had to invest a lot more time. I was willing to make that sacrifice. And I did make that sacrifice. Honestly telling you, so you would know what level of work it takes to take advantage of an opportunity. There were days when I went to office at 5 a.m. in the morning. The floors were not open. I had to talk to the security. I had to get them to open the floors. I would go in. Nobody was there. I would open my laptop and I would start working because there were tough deliveries under tough deadlines and a lot of work that went into getting the approvals from the local authorities, getting approvals from foreign authorities, doing the background work, working with the foreign consultants, then doing research, doing the numbers. There were a lot of work. So there were days I had to leave late. I had to work late hours, leave office to be the last person to leave the building and to be the first person to come walk into the building. So I did those sacrifices. And I have to tell you, those sacrifices that you do at a limited time in your career can equip you or can give you the fast start you need, because people will notice hardworking, hardworking individuals, and they will give you more and more responsibility, and they will test the limits that you have, knowing that those people who work hard will do a lot of work. And I tell you, one thing that you have to prepare yourself is, when you are a hardworking person in an organization, you would notice that people will give you more and more. And people who don't work hard, they get less and less work. And sometimes you have get into this false notion and you get discouraged, thinking that it's unfair. I'm working hard and I'm getting all the work, while people who don't do work, they relax and they get less and less responsibility. But please understand, there's a point where organizations reward people based on the effort and the work that they do. Most organizations that are successful, they're successful because they have compensation schemes based on performance. And although you may work hard comparatively to others and you may think that you're doing work well beyond your designation, you're doing work well beyond your paycheck, there will be a time where there will be a balancing act. And through that balancing, you will be able to get a fast start for your career. And as I told you, as an executive, I was working way beyond and I was taking up more responsibility. Sometimes it was tough to balance with other things in my life. I had to sometimes sacrifice the leisure time I had, but I sacrificed those 2 years. And I did the presentation at the board meeting. And I never thought at such a young age I would be able to walk up to a boardroom and do a presentation to Mr. Dhammika Pereira, one of the richest people in this country and a business tycoon that has started so many new ventures. I was able to propose a project of $3 million for a foreign expansion project, the first foreign expansion project of LB Finance PLC, a microfinance subsidiary in Myanmar. And I did lot of work under a lot of supervision and guidance from my supervisor, the deputy general manager, strategy and risk, and I worked closely with the directors to fine tune this proposal. And I did the presentation and I was able to convince for this implementation. And I was able to play a major role in establishing this microfinance subsidiary that was established in December 2017, and I am to this date, it has achieved a lot of success. And looking back, I'm very happy that I was able to play a role in taking a Sri Lankan brand abroad and supporting a community that needed that financial assistance. So I'm proud and I'm privileged to be a part of that opportunity. And if I had thought back then, with just 1.5 years of experience, how can I lead such a large project? I should just do what I have been doing, and I should just let someone senior take up that role, and I should just continue in my comfort zone. If I had thought like that, I would not be able to stand here today and share a very valuable experience, and I wouldn't have been able to get a fast start for my career. And with the implementation of this and with the early success we got, I was promoted from executive to senior executive, strategy and risk. And I was able to surpass some people who had more experience, some people who had more qualifications, and I was able to get into a senior position. And I even got the opportunity to travel to a foreign country. I was able to mingle with the locals, so that was a wonderful experience. So, my message to you from this experience is whenever you get an opportunity, that opportunity may look daunting, that opportunity may look too challenging. You might feel scared. Am I ready for this? Trust me, you will automatically be ready the moment you say yes and you start to adopt taking up the responsibility. Slowly, you will stretch yourself beyond limits that you had set yourself. You will stretch beyond those limits and you will discover that your boundaries are expanding. The human mind and human capability is amazing. The more the higher the target that you set yourself, the higher your achievement. If you set yourself lower targets, you will always come below your targets. So it doesn't matter what you believe yourself to be capable now, you always have to have big dreams. Again, I emphasize organizations love people who have big dreams. So always learn to dream big and set yourself aspirational targets. And that's how I was able to secure my second promotion. Now, I was a senior executive, and this opportunity of setting up a subsidiary, I was able to successfully achieve it. So the organization was now giving me more and more responsibility, and a new opportunity was coming my way. This opportunity was to have a proper strategy unit established for LB Finance PLC and to set ourselves a proper 3-year strategy. There were about 10 people working in this team, and we had about 3 or 4 months to come up with this strategy. And this final strategy would be presented to again Mr. Dhammika Pereira. So he's a person who evaluates everything critically. So we had to come up with a solid strategy. And again, this was something that the organization was doing for the first time, going this deep, developing a strategy this big. So the difference was my first opportunity, setting up a microfinance subsidiary in Myanmar, I had to work alone for most of the time. And I was good at managing big projects alone. Now, this time I had to manage a project along with a big team. It was a 10-man team, but with a lot of people with a lot of good qualifications and the required mindset. And I had to now work with this team. I had to push sometimes, I had to drive hard sometimes, and I had to get the work done to make sure that we are in line with the deadlines. So it was a tough time, but we enjoyed the whole process of getting this done. There were many days that we had to spend late hours. We would order food from outside. We would have snacks while doing work just to keep ourselves motivated and energized. So we were doing a lot of hard work. But there was something that I needed to improve, in giving leadership at a young age. And that is a critical element that I discovered as a leader. You must have an organization, and as a professional, you must develop. And that element is emotional intelligence. Now, when you're working with others, you need to understand that people are different. People have different capabilities, and people work according to different paces, and they're motivated by different things. Now, I was a very young professional climbing the ladder fast, and it took me some time to understand that when you're working with others, sometimes people have different perception, and people always believe that they also need to have success based on the work that they are doing. So it is not only about your success that matters. When you work in an organization, you also have to understand that your work and the decisions you take must lead to the success of everyone as a whole. And while doing work, sometimes I didn't understand that I was pressing people too much, not understanding their limits, not understanding their pace, and my expectation was in line with what I have been doing, what I am capable of. I didn't understand that people are assets of a team in different ways. So I pushed too hard, and suddenly I started getting a pushback from the team because there were people who were senior to me, and sometimes when you're too hard on them, sometimes there could be a clash of egos, and sometimes you have to be ready to step back when there is a pushback. So I had to learn it the hard way, and I learned and adapted quickly. And I understood that sometimes you need to respect those individuals for their own capabilities. And as a leader, what makes you a good leader is to get the best within their working comfort zones. So you need to adapt yourself, manage between different resources, and at the same time, make sure they are happy with the work they are doing. And when you communicate across to them, you need to show a little bit of sympathy and empathy, and you have to work with a little bit of understanding. And that is what emotional intelligence is. So I started appreciating them a bit more, and I started encouraging them. I started understanding their different paces, and I started juggling with the different capabilities to make sure that the final output is something that we can all be proud of, and at the same time, none of us will be demotivated. None of us will be pushed too much so that there are moments that make us discouraged. So at the end of the day, that was a great opportunity for me to grow as a leader. As I told you, sometimes you may be very capable as individuals, but when you climb up the ladder, your capability alone is not enough for you to be successful in certain initiatives. You have to understand how to drive performance from others, how to help others achieve their potential, and how to be sympathetic towards their own concerns. And that was a big transformation that I went through during this project. And at the end of this process, we were able to launch a proper strategy, and everybody was able to have a big ownership, and everybody contributed. And I achieved a lot of growth as a leader, and I achieved a lot of growth as a subordinate. And I was once again able to have a valuable project under my belt that I was part of. And through that whole experience, I was able to take myself to the next stage. Now, after completing this project, once again, I got an opportunity. I came across a crossroads. I was already in 3 years plus at LB Finance PLC, and I got the opportunity to join another large conglomerate. So I got an offer. This was another promotion, and I had to decide whether I'm going to continue with this existing organization or whether I'm going to move to this new organization. I spoke with my supervisor and I spoke openly and I told, these are the experiences and things that I have gathered. Is there something more, something new that we can do here? Or will this be a new opportunity for me to learn something new outside and in another organization? So I was being offered a higher pay, I was being offered a higher designation, and now I was in this crossroads. So I had this conversation, open conversation, and my supervisor told me there's this next big thing that he has been thinking of, and he's assembling a new team to go ahead with this venture, and whether I want to be a part of this. And since this is a new venture, there will be a requirement to spend a little bit of time and patience to show the value in this. Whether I'm willing to be patient to spend time with this new venture and then reap the benefits. I thought hard and I thought once again, what is my dream? My dream is to one day be a CEO. And now my supervisor is presenting me with an opportunity to be a part of a fresh startup, a spin off within this organization. And I thought maybe I'll stick with a lower pay, but still I will be able to be a part of this new venture, and this investment will definitely equip me with the knowledge that will one day help me realize my dream of becoming a CEO. So I said no to the opportunity. I humbly turned it down. It was a valuable opportunity, but I humbly turned it down and I committed myself to this new venture. And this new venture was actually to set up a fintech unit, a digital financial services unit within a very traditional organization back then. LB Finance PLC was very traditional. It was a very ground to earth finance company that had a lot of success in the traditional market. But it was willing to take its next step in the fintech landscape. And together with my supervisor, we established this new unit, LB Digital Financial Services. And we were going on this new venture. It was an entrepreneurial startup within an established conglomerate. So we started off fresh, we had a team, and everything was new. This was not something that we had done before, so there was a lot of exploring. And again, once again, a lot of time and effort being sacrificed. I was just married, so I had to balance a family life and an new venture. It was not easy. That was one of the toughest periods in my life. But I thought maybe in the short term, I will give this a go because I thought this entrepreneurial experience will definitely help me. And I tried my best to also balance out my new life because there are certain things in your life that you should never completely let go. It's always about a balancing act. And one more thing that was very important about this initiative is the fact that this was a fintech. Now, it is the buzzword nowadays. I don't know whether you have heard of fintechs. If not, fintech is an organization that can combine the financial elements of a finance company and the technological elements of a technology company. Now, as I told you, technology is vastly improving and technology is being integrated into so many different industries. And the banking industry and the finance industry is also adopting this change, and that is where fintechs come into play. Now, again, most of the people who are out there are confined to the traditional areas of their studies. Most of these people do the mistake of not learning technology. Thankfully, I had a qualification and I had the passion to learn technology, and I was able to become a valuable asset in this new startup. So I got promoted to this new designation, lead planning and communication. Now, lead planning This part involved with me developing the financial plan, developing a business plan, and at the same time working with the software development company to develop a fintech application. Now, a fintech application involves a lot of software development elements, a lot of big data, a lot of analytics, a lot of machine learning, new words, new buzzwords that are being discussed now. So, because of the foundations that I had from learning at NIBM, I was able to quickly adapt and learn these new functions, and I was able to successfully work with the software development company. And we were able to develop a fantastic mobile wallet application that is truly a Sri Lankan product. So all of this was possible because I was able to translate the technological requirements and I was able to properly integrate it with the business requirements. So having multidisciplinary learning really counts. Now that is lead planning. The other element I had was lead planning, and the second one is communications. So I had, when I did my degree, when I chose my specialization from the various sources, I chose marketing. Now I had already committed to CIMA, which was finance, and some people who were already studying CIMA, they wanted to specialize in finance. They wanted to extremely specialize. But I thought, I have a qualification in finance. Why don't I try something different? So I did marketing. And up to that point, I never got the opportunity to apply what I learned in marketing. I have been a finance specialist. I have been an analyst. But this gave me an opportunity for the first time to apply the knowledge that I learned years ago. I was looking after the branding strategy, working with the head of the department. I was leading the branding elements, working with the branding agency, the external party, working with the internal resources of the business unit, working with the marketing unit of LB Finance PLC. So that was a completely new experience, and I realized that the qualification that I had done before finally came into use. And I realized a very important lesson. You need multiple qualifications. You need to be multidisciplined. Unless you equip yourself with various weapons, you will not be able to fight in various wars. You will be only successful in one type of war and you will fail because you don't have the armaments or you don't have the weapons to face different types of wars, because different battlefields have their distinct advantages and disadvantages. Different opportunities at work require different skills. So unless you are multidisciplined, you will not be given the opportunity or you will not be able to take advantage of opportunities. So I have done IT, I have done finance, I have done marketing. And now I am doing my MBA, and to do my research, I have selected the area of financial technology because that is the way forward. And I am very happy that I was able to be a part of a fintech company that is growing, and fintech companies are growing through the industry. So if you have the opportunity to be a part of a technological revolution, always take that step because technology is the way forward. And everything that we do manually will get replaced by technological platforms. Everything. Education will become technologically supported. There will be exams that are getting marked not through lecturers. In the future, they will be marked by artificial intelligence, machine learning platforms, right? And even there could be robotic lecturers who are able to cater to the different needs of students. Because at the moment, lecturers are able to only deliver one type of a lecture where the students have different learning needs. So now we are struggling to address that, but in the future, those platforms will come. And perhaps you will be the people who are developing that. So the lecturers today will, in the future, be developing these platforms. So they will need the IT qualifications plus lecturing experience. So they will be able to develop these platforms. So that was just one example. So the banking sector is being revolutionized, and I was able to be a part of that. And again, I highlight the importance of having the technological capabilities and also being multidisciplinary so that you can take up diverse roles. Now, these are not roles that were there 10 years ago. These are now new roles, and the old roles are being replaced. They want people who can handle multiple things. And after spending 5 years at LB, I was ready to take the first step out of the organization. I was very comfortable working with this organization because I knew everybody, I knew the processes, I knew what my supervisors were expecting. But again, I thought, what is my ambition? My ambition is to one day be a CEO. So if I only knew how to work in one organization, I thought, will I be able to cater to the diverse needs of different organizations? So I thought, it is the time for me to venture outside. There will come a time where you have to step outside of your comfort zone. It's very difficult. Once you get used to working in one place, it's very difficult to make up your mind to move to another organization. But certain things you have to do. So I took the decision and I joined this multinational organization, the world's largest life insurance company, AIA Life Insurance. And I joined as business manager, strategy formulation, directly reporting to the director of finance. And it was a major jump for me career wise and a fast start for my career to achieve my dream one day of becoming a CEO. And it was a completely different experience reporting to a director, working with the CEO, working with the regional directors, and preparing material for the consumption of the regional CEO, handling a lot of responsibility because once you are a manager, you have very little supervision. It takes a lot of initiative, it takes a lot of autonomy for you to operate as a manager. So, and you need to be a step ahead. When you take up the role of a manager, and I know someday you will all be taking up this role, you will always be a step ahead and think, what does your supervisor need? They will not always tell you exactly their needs. They expect you to understand what they need and they expect you to work with a lot of autonomy. So, being a step ahead is something that I started incorporating to my life. I thought, now my supervisor, the director of finance, the CFO, what would he do in this instance? What would he want to know? And I started working according to those lines. So when you get to that level, that is something that you absolutely must do. Little by little, you need to get into the shoes of your next level because you always need to think one step ahead. You can't just be doing or performing the role at your current designation. You have to think what you need to do to perform the next level. That is when you can get a fast start for your career. So at the moment, I've been learning the ropes of a new industry. I joined an insurance company, and insurance is a very tough industry to understand because of the complexities. But I'm very happy that I was able to adapt because of the diverse experiences I have had, and I'm learning how to perform my role better and better by working a little bit harder every day and trying to do things differently. And again, I'm working with a lot of technological things. We are doing a lot of robotic process automation where we want to eliminate a lot of manual processes and automate everything. Because nowadays people can't spend the time, waste the time preparing stuff manually. Everything is getting automated. Now I thought mastering Excel was a challenge, but now at my new workplace we have moved beyond Excel. We are using Power BI, the next stage of Excel where you have to do a bit of coding, you have to do a little bit of manipulation, you work with a data lake where all the data is parked in now something called a data lake. You have moved beyond from a database and you have something called data models inside a data lake. Now, all these are new words, but they are the future. You will have to learn those things. You have to learn to work with them. So, I've had to adopt myself, and I'm using a lot of technology now. And from fintech, now I'm starting to look at insurtech. So insurtech is also something that is going on and something that is changing. And we are working with applications, we are working with different platforms. Now, even healthcare is now getting into online platforms. There are so many online platforms where now I don't visit a doctor now. I just use online platforms to take care of my health needs. So everything is changing. So you need to change if you want to have a fast start in your career. And through all of those, I have been able to achieve a fast start for my career. I got a lot of support and guidance. I had the right mentors in my life. I had the right supervisors in my life. I'm very thankful because up to now, my supervisors have been instrument of my success because they shared their knowledge, because they gave the right advice, and because I gave the right commitment. The blended result of that was I was able to become a manager with just 5 years of experience, a manager of one of the largest multinationals in this world, and I was able to play a major role formulating the strategy, supporting the strategy building, working with the directors, working with the region. I was able to take up this responsibility and I was able to get selected from people who had a lot more experiences, people who had completed their MBAs. I'm just completing my MBA. I was able to secure that because I took the right steps at the right time. I made the right calls. So me sharing this experience today is to help you make those right calls. And I know at this point some of it may seem far fetched, but one day when you get into those crossroads, you will think back and you will know at least some guidance. You will have at least some guidance to take the call. And that is my duty as a person who has gone through this path, this difficult journey, to share this experience. So maybe I can smoothen out the rubbles, I can make this process a little bit easier for you. And that is how the next generation becomes even better. And that is the case. Nowadays, you see so many young individuals take up bigger and bigger responsibilities. If you look at the job postings, if you go to top jobs, the number of years of experience they ask from a senior manager has reduced tremendously over the last couple of years. Now they want multidisciplinary individuals who got exposed to the industry at a much younger age with less number of experiences. And they give you the opportunity and they know you can do it. But the only way you can do it is to make sure you have the right attitude, you take the right call, you have the right qualifications, and you work according to good ethics. And then only you can have a fast start to your life. And I am still on the path of learning. I am learning a lot of things. And as I told you, I am doing my MBA and I'm doing my research in fintech. I'm learning a lot of things. So I hope I will also have the opportunity to continue to change myself because change is the way forward. And I hope in another couple of years I would be able to have a lot more experiences and come and share once more again. Because this opportunity to share knowledge is always a great, valuable opportunity. And I'm thankful for NIBM for giving me this opportunity. And I hope because of COVID, I'm not able to meet you and I'm not able to have a conversation with you. But I hope someday I might meet some of you and you might remind me that you were able to listen to me and you were able to get something out of this. And that will be the happiest moment of my life. And I hope in the industry, I will meet you very soon, performing great roles at a very young age and developing yourself or creating yourself a fast start. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best for a wonderful career. And I thank NIBM for this opportunity. So stay safe and wish you all the best.